September 2012, armed militants stormed the American compound in Benghazi, Libya. 4 Americans were killed. Less than a year later, the country was in chaos. Our men were in danger again. That's when CIA operator Sarah Carlson was given her orders: get them out alive.
Sarah Carlson is a former CIA analyst stationed in Libya. After the 2012 attacks in Benghazi that killed 4 Americans, Sarah remained behind to complete her mission, and it almost cost her her life.
So we did have a Marine combat unit, but we couldn't do anything to defend ourselves against, rockets coming in.
In her book, In the Dark of War, Sarah gives her inside account into the U.S. evacuation from Libya.
Well, Sarah Carlson is here with more of her story, and she joins us now via Skype. Hello, nice to have you with us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on.
You went to college to study English. How did you become a CIA analyst?
It's a weird path, I know. So I actually interned with emergency management while I was going to school, and then 9/11 happened. And for a lot of people, I think, including me, that changed my path. And my boss at the time recommended Defense Intelligence Agency, so I actually started there and then eventually moved on to CIA. My 3 brothers all joined the military, so that's why I wanted to do defense.
You were assigned to Libya shortly after the Benghazi attack. What was the state of the country at that point?
It was still very unstable. I think, a lot of people probably don't realize that we still had a presence there. The U.S. was still in the country. So I was in Tripoli, and the militias there kind of ran things, and there were so many different ones that at first it wasn't a problem. But then as they started to, join forces, then that's when we could see the signs that the civil war was coming.
Your job was to be the tactical commander for the evacuation of the embassy. The day of the evacuation was July 26th, 2014. Walk us through that day.
So in the run-up to that, the Civil War did start, and we were there for about 2 weeks while they were engaged in a heavy bombing campaign. And then, of course, the terrorism threat was still quite high. The group that had conducted the Benghazi attacks had moved to Tripoli. So the threat of kidnapping and assault on the gate were really quite high, and we had to debate, how to leave and when to leave. And so when we finally got the order that we could, we had to destroy everything. So it was kind of like in the movies where you see the shredding of the paper and driving nails through hard drives and things like that. And then the actual day that we left, I was assigned to be a tactical commander. So that meant that I had to, provide protection for the people that were in my vehicle. So we were in armored vehicles, but we were very concerned there was going to be an ambush or something like that along the route.
So all the time that you're carrying out the orders that are given, there's this tension and this anxiety that you could be the next victim of something going on. Your ordeal in Libya left you with PTSD. How have you managed that?
It's been a process. I think my family has really helped me through it. When I got back, I kind of share this anecdote in my book that I hadn't really realized how much it affected me until I got home and I saw my mom, and they all put their arms around me and prayed with me there at the airport. And that really started that path to healing. And it has been quite a process, but I think every day is a little bit better.
There's so much that someone who's actually there on the scene and engaged in the process sees that the rest of us don't ever hear about in the news. You actually had a legal battle with the CIA over this book. What happened?
I did, yes. So they had approved it. It took about a year and a half. So I first submitted it in October of 2015. And then, of course, the election was the following year. And so I didn't get my approval until after that. And then my literary agent asked me to sort of add in some additional things. And so that requires sending it back to the CIA. So when I did that, then they said that they now considered the entire thing classified. And because I'd already sent it out, that created a problem. So a couple of friends recommended just consulting with a lawyer, and then he recommended pursuing the lawsuit as much to protect myself as anything, since I had in fact already sent it.
Well, interestingly enough, you mentioned that the embassy staff refused to share their food and water with your team, even as you all were risking your lives to get them to safety. I know that you say in the book that that was a shocking thing, obviously, but why do you think that happened?
You know, I'm still not sure to this day. I think there's a bit of a culture difference between State Department and CIA, but it's quite hurtful at the time, right? Like you're literally risking your life, and like we hadn't really slept or eaten in days, and then to finally get there, and it was so hot and it was dry, and it's like that desert heat, and to not be given a water freely, it was really hard to kind of deal with that, and I didn't really understand why they were doing that. And I have many friends who work for the State Department, so it's not a thing that goes across the board, but in the moment, that was quite hard.
Where does this all leave you, Sarah? What's your plan for the future, and what's the takeaway that you have from the years of service and sacrifice that you gave?
So I'm in emergency management now, and it's been really nice to come back to my hometown and to be able to help with like safety plans here. So it's preparing for all hazards, and having had a lot of experience with them and shelter in place and evacuation, I'm able to apply all that to protecting my hometown and my family that lives here. So I've really enjoyed that.
Well, it's a great story of adventure. I want to say you can read more about Sarah's life and her adventures in Libya by getting her new book. It's called In the Dark War, and it's available nationwide. So nice to have you with us, Sarah. Thanks.
Thank you so much for having me on.